Hi, my name is Jane Powell. Welcome to Community Connections, brought to you by the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation. Today, our guests are the program officers of the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation, Sheri Ryder, Senior Program Officer, Stephanie Hyre, Program Officer. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks, Jane.
Thanks for having us.
So, when we talk about the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation, it's a community trust. It's very involved in community building, and it was established in 1962. So at a little over 50 years old, it's gone through a transition, through a strategic planning process, and the outcome of all of this are new mission, vision, goals, and a new grant process. So I thought maybe that's what we could talk about today. Stephanie, would you like to tell us about the new mission and the vision?
Sure. We do have a new vision for the community. We envision a forward-thinking and closely connected community that fearlessly works together to promote the prosperity of all. Really strong, powerful statement. Mm-hmm. We also have a new mission, and that would be that the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation makes thoughtful and proactive investments that grow the multiple forms of wealth necessary for our community to thrive. These forms of wealth include the individual, intellectual, social, political, natural, built, and financial assets within our community.
There are those 7 forms of wealth again. They are a reoccurring theme and focus of the foundation. So keeping that in mind, with the new mission and the new vision, we're making some changes. Is that right, Sheri?
That is correct.
So what's changing? Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, over the last 50 years, the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation has served a 6-county region of Boone, Clay, Lincoln, Fayette, Kanawha, and Putnam counties. Mm-hmm. It's become obvious that the communities that we serve are facing powerful challenges that require powerful solutions. Mm-hmm. And within the changes, the foundation will be focusing on 3 areas: education, health, and leadership and civic engagement. The 3 full goal statements that the foundation will be focusing on will be education. We are a community where students from early childhood to post-secondary build the skills, knowledge, and credentials to become productive and successful. Health, we are a community that supports the healthy choice. Leadership and civic engagement, we are a community full of strong, innovative, and effective leaders who work to create shared visions, cross-cultural relationships, and the capacity to foster positive change. Within these goal areas, the foundation has specific objectives and indicators that will be shared at a county level or at all 6 county levels with community meetings in mid through late August and the foundation's website by the 1st of September.
Okay, so that's some of the things that are changing, which is a lot, but some things are staying the same. Stephanie, why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. The shift will only affect the foundation's competitive, unrestricted grant making. So our donor-advised funds and donor-designated funds will still operate under the discretion of the donors who created them. As you mentioned, and as Sheri mentioned, we'll still be focusing on community wealth creation, and we unrolled those forms of community wealth back in 2013. So we'll continue to use those forms of wealth as metrics on how our nonprofits are creating or enhancing the forms of community wealth. And then our scholarship process will also remain the same. So we'll still have students apply annually between November and January, and they'll still be notified of their awards in May.
And just a note about the scholarships. Although the grant process involves the 6 counties of our region, the scholarship is actually a statewide program. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's right.
Just something to keep in mind for those that might be interested in that. Yeah. So we've talked about the 7 forms of wealth, and although it will become very important in 2014, it was introduced in 2013. Is that right?
That's right.
And we have seen people establish what this as part of their applications. Is that right?
That's right. So the nonprofits who've applied to us throughout 2013 and then this year in 2014 as well have been applying under the Wealth Creation Framework, mm-hmm. and that will continue in 2015 and beyond as well.
So when a grantee applies, they project where they feel they will create the wealth. Have you been able to track that?
We have been. We're still receiving final reports from those grants that we made in 2013. But I think you have a visual for us, a chart that shows of the 88 projects that we funded last year, where each of those projects were creating wealth.
Right. So really some impressive numbers in the first year of this concept or new focus. So yes, very exciting. And we know that these 7 forms of wealth are important for a community to thrive.
Yes.
And that's where where the focus came from. Is that right?
Right, and as you can see from the chart, the places where our nonprofits are the strongest or where they're building the most wealth are in individual, intellectual, and social, which are really the foundation forms of wealth that help create the other 4.
And a project could very easily create more than one form of wealth.
Well, definitely. Most projects would probably create 2 to 3, but it would be an unusual organization that would create all 7.
Right. So something to think about as people are applying and working through this, the multiple forms of wealth that they're creating. Yeah, that's great. So we've talked about the change. So the nuts and bolts of it, how does it work?
We're still working a lot of that out, but
Because it's brand new.
it's brand
And
new.
it begins January of 2015.
2015.
Right.
And so there are still quite a few of the nuts and bolts, as you say, the process that we're still working on. But what we will be able to discuss today is that we know that we'll be working with a cross-sector of partners, community members, businesses, government, nonprofits, obviously, and other philanthropic entities. And we want to do this to address the complex social issues that we've not been able to address impactfully in the past. And we'll be looking for community, county, and regional collaboratives to aim for broader and more lasting change within the root causes that we've identified through our strategic planning, and the 3 goals we'll be addressing. And these changes will be driven by data, which is, and a shared sense of purpose. Another area that's going to be very different is the discretionary grant making program will be proactive, and in the past we've been responsive.
I like that. Proactive.
Yes. And the program officers will be working with the cross-sector partners in the different communities to identify needs, convene stakeholders, and potentially request a concept paper to go forward that if it has a program or project that might meet the foundation's identified goals and the desired outcomes.
So let me just clarify, when you talk about the program officer working, that's going to change a little bit because you're going to be out in the field actually meeting and working with the project concept and that sort of thing. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
It is for us too, and we hope that
Makes you a strong partner.
And we hope that we'll be for the communities that we work with. And the other change, there are many changes, but another change will be that we'll have rolling grant deadlines that will be around the quarterly board meetings, the Board of Trustee meetings. We no longer will have grant cycles that are around an issue area. And then we have many other changes too.
As in the past, the proposals will be reviewed by a committee made up of volunteers and community members. The concept papers, as Sheri mentioned, will need to be submitted based on an invitation from the program officers. Once the concept paper is submitted, then the review committee will review it, and the proposals that most strongly align with the foundation's priorities will be asked to submit a full proposal.
Okay.
Those full proposals will again be reviewed by a committee made up of volunteers, and that committee will make recommendations to our Board of Trustees. So as in the past, the Board of Trustees will have the final say in all funding decisions.
Okay. So you're inviting people to submit their concept paper. You're working closely with them. But, and we talked about the goal areas. Where do the arts fit into this?
The arts, we believe, will, and have confidence in, that the arts and cultural projects will be could be embedded in any of the three goals. So they could be embedded in the education goal, they could be embedded in the health goal, or they could certainly be embedded in the leadership and civic engagement goal. We do believe that the arts and culture are integral to our community's health and success. And if for some reason they do not fit within these goals, we do have some funding set aside where the arts groups can kind of go back to the responsive model and follow a competitive grant making cycle and apply. But they have to talk to the program officers before that can happen, because the program officers are going to try to help them fit within the goal areas.
Great.
That would be much more of a successful grant for them and for the process as we move forward.
Okay. So as an organization, I'm hearing these changes and I'm excited about them, but what does it mean for my organization? How do I handle it?
Well, over the past 18 months, the foundation's held multiple meetings with donors, community leaders, grantees, stakeholders to help include all voices in our transition. And so our changes have been guided by data and stakeholder input. For many organizations, the shift will mean adjusting the timeline of your budget. So for example, a health organization that's used to applying during the May 1st deadline and then receiving funding in June or July might have to adjust their budget timeline because there won't be those cycle deadlines anymore. So if their project has been percolating and seems prepared and ready to submit to the Board of Trustees in March, then they could be looking at receiving funding as early as April, or they might be looking at funding in October. So that will mean a timeline shift, and we wanted to communicate those changes to the nonprofits now so that they could prepare for that as they plan their budgets for the upcoming year. Unfortunately, as we narrow our focus, some organizations won't fit within our priorities anymore, and we'll certainly be working with those organizations to either help them adapt or maybe offer some kind of training in the future so that they can become sustainable.
Okay. So we've talked about the arts, basic needs.
Well, basic needs will still be covered by the foundation. It's the underlying. Well, I want to use the word foundation again because it applies here. It's the underlying foundation for any other type of project that or program that may want to go forward. So it will be a competitive cycle, responsive, one time a year. And we look at basic needs as medical, which means physical, mental, and dental, shelter, food, and clothing.
Okay, great. So there is no need for panic that this is not a forgotten category by any means.
No.
Great. I think what I'm hearing today and what I know of this process, program officers are very important, that organizations need to work closely with you. They always have, now more so than ever, to make this change effective for everybody and so that everybody has the best outcome. The best way for them to get in touch with you would be to call the foundation, and that telephone number is
304-346-3620.
okay. And Sheri, how would they get in touch with you through email?
It's sryder, R-Y-D-E-R, at TGKVF.org.
Which is probably a very effective way to get in touch with you.
It's probably the best way.
Yeah. And Sheri, or Stephanie, pardon me, tell me your email.
It's Hyre, SHYRE, at TGKVF.org.
Great. And we know that this information is brand new and will be on our website soon.
We hope to have it on by the end of August or 1st of September.
Great, so that's always a resource, and that would be www.tgkvf.org.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming in. It's a lot of changes. It's been nice to learn about them and to share the information with everyone. I appreciate it.